It's time for our September 2019 Plan With Me. This month I'm switching things up a little with a collage calendar page, a new weekly layout, and a Dutch door cover page, of course. Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Shayda and I'm super excited to share my September journal with you. September is such a fresh start. It's more of a new year to me than January. If you remember last month, I started a new notebook. My other one was full. We did a cutaway cover page, which we always do. They're also known as a Dutch door cover page. Let me just do a little flip through here of August. I had my calendar page, and then I did quite a detailed weekly layout, which I actually started to find a little labor intensive as the month went on. It's just because I had to use a ruler to do it, and you guys know how I feel about rulers. If I was busy that week, it was a bit much. I already have next week set up. I'm filming this mid-month, of course, and then I've got one last blank page here for the last week of August, and then we'll flip over and boom, it's September, just like that. So let me show you the practice work that I did for this month's cover page. We're going to tackle roses, and we're going to do them in marker and pen, and it's a little formula that I like to call drawing a rose without really drawing one. So we'll get to what I mean, but for any cutaway or Dutch door cover page, you always want to mark in 8 squares or any determined number of squares. Put a line there so that you know where you'll be cutting, and you'll also know how much of your design is going off of that window, and then also mark it on the page below. As usual, you can download and print my monthly cover page. All the channel bonus content is available on Patreon. And guys, because September is such a great time of year for journaling, I'm running a journaling giveaway, everything you need to get started. So watch until the end of today's video for that. Okay, so what I've done here for my cover page is marked in pencil 2 circles, one larger, one smaller, and that is my guide. I also have that line down the vertical marking where I'll cut away. And now we are going to start drawing the roses. I am using a gray Faber-Castell marker. Can you believe it? And we are going to draw this rose. We start with a scribbly center. I promise this is a rose anybody can do. We just do a bunch of scribbles. Then you start making these curved, broken lines enclosing the scribbles in the center. Then those curved, broken lines get a little bit larger, a little bit wider, but they still come to a pretty nice point at the end. So you can see me doing that. I'm enclosing the scribbles in the circle with lines that are first thin, and then they get thicker and thicker. And then as we get towards the bottom here, we start doing these really thick petal areas, but it's still quite scribbly. It's still quite loose. And we sort of tuck them all into one another. You can see how the petals are a little bit offset, and they're very messy and scribbly. And I think you can see how the rose emerges. This is my drawing a rose without really drawing one. Then we're going to take our Pigmamicron and go over it, and you'll see how it really comes together. Again, I'm starting with those scribbles in the center. Usually I don't recommend doing things fast, but the scribbles you can. They should look a little messy, a little free, a little weird. And then once the scribbles are done, you do a few of those curved, broken lines. And then the broken curved lines get a little wider. You can see I'm sort of doing a perimeter around some of the larger marker areas. And those are my petals. I like to wiggle the pen a little bit as I'm drawing, just so that the lines don't look too perfect or too smooth. This is all about that perfectly imperfect look and the look of the very loose and beautiful English rose. And if you're interested in the watercolor rose tutorial that I did last Friday, I will link that in the video description. Okay, you can see how the rose has kind of come together now. We've gone outside of the marker area and drawn these big floppy petals at the bottom. And then we're just going to go back in with our Pigmamicron and do a little bit of line shading. And I like to do these broken lines that are sort of moving in the direction of the petal that they're on, if that makes sense. So if the petal is coming towards the viewer, those lines are coming towards the viewer. And I just want to take a second to thank Skillshare for sponsoring our video today. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in photography, painting, design, business, and more. A premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes from experts working in their fields, so you can improve your skills, unlock new opportunities, and do the work you love. Skillshare is also more affordable than most learning platforms out there, and an annual membership is less than $10 a month. And to get yourself a 2-month free trial, click the link in the video description below. Okay, and if you're thinking, I don't want to do this in marker first, we're going to do a slightly different rose in pencil. So we start with the scribbles, the scribbly center. Then you're going to draw a V in front of them. This rose is on a bit more of an angle. Then you'll sort of join that V in the back with a curving line, and then you'll draw a sort of semicircle outwards from that V. So these are 2 petals that join in the front. Then we draw another petal sort of enclosing those first 2 petals. I know this looks messy and weird, but I promise you it's not that difficult. Let me erase so I can show you a bit better. So we've got the V, and that's 2 petals, and then there's 1 more petal around in front. Then we start doing these floppy bits in behind, just like we did with the marker, and they sort of enclose this little area in the center. We do a large fat petal down in front and maybe 1 more, and you can sort of add as many in behind as you like. Now that you've tackled it in pencil, which is totally erasable, you can start going over this layer with your Pigma Micron, starting with the scribbles, then that V in front, the 2 petals that curve around behind, and then all these other petals that encircle that middle bit. And again, I sort of shake my pen a little to get the look of these very loose and lovely rose petals. And then in the end, we'll add a bit of marker. I'm just going to erase all those messy pencil lines and get rid of the eraser dust. And then here we can come back in at this point with that gray marker or with any color marker. And again, as I'm shading with the marker, I like to move my marker, oh my gosh, I'm saying marker a lot, in the direction that the petals are going. So if the petal is sort of growing up around the center, my marker is going vertically. If the petal is unfurling towards the viewer, my marker is sort of on a horizontal angle. And the same for the broken lines, they move with the petals, and we're just going to add a few of those to sort of finish off our rose. As your cover page comes together, it's never too late to go back in with pencil and work on the design. And that's what I'm doing here. Now that the flowers are in place, I can decide where I really want those leaves to be. And then I'm just going to go over them with pen and make these kind of scribbly, messy leaves. They're very perfectly imperfect, and I like that. And I'm doing a bit of shading on the stem and just adding lots of lines. You know, roses, the leaves have a lot of veining, and so I'm doing that, but I'm not taking it too seriously. You can see here, once I've added the veining lines, then I'm adding all these tiny broken shading lines, and I'll even scribble in some of the shaded bits where I want it to be a little darker. It's just so much faster to just do it without your pen leaving the page. Just scribble, 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 and you've got that nice contrast. And then our page is almost done. A few of you have asked about how I cut out my cover page, and I haven't shown it in a while, mostly just because it's so tedious, but this is how I do it. I put a cutting mat underneath the page, and I use a ruler and a little X-Acto knife to cut all the straight parts. So all the straight parts of the page are cut, and then I just go ahead and kind of get rid of as much excess paper as I can. And then once that's done, this is where it gets a bit finicky. I take a small pair of embroidery scissors and cut out the excess. And the trick is to cut along the top of the leaves on the front side of the page and the bottom on the underside. And that's how you do it. Now our Dutch door cover page, our window cutaway page, whatever you call it, is half done. The top looks great. I'm super happy with it. And underneath, I always add a calendar on the right-hand side of the page so that I can see it when the Dutch drawer is closed. So I'll just do that using a very small, like an 005 Pigma Micron, put the month title, and then underneath where I can't see when the page is closed, I always put my goals and affirmations for the month. The goals are, of course, the goals, and the affirmations are the focus portion. Just do a nice perfectly imperfect line there. And then I like to do a little illustration underneath, and I'm just going to do another rose. You can see it one more time, the Shayda Campbell formula for drawing a rose without really drawing a rose at all. So scribbles, broken lines, the broken curved lines get thicker and wider as you go out, and soon enough you've got this very scribbly, beautiful, perfectly imperfect rose. Roses are one flower that kind of have always scared me to paint and draw, and so when I started working on them this month, I think that's why I did them in 2 videos, because I was like, okay, I've got it down, or I'm getting it. And yeah, I think sunflowers and daisies also scare me a bit because they have all those tiny petals. And comment below and let me know, is there a flower that kind of intimidates you a little bit? And even though I just said sunflowers kind of scare me, I am going to tackle them soon I think in a watercolor video actually. Okay, cover page is done, along with the underside where I keep all my goals and affirmations for the month. I'm super happy with the rose, and I hope you'll give it a try because it looks quite detailed when you're done, but it really is a lot of fun to draw and not at all intimidating, as it turns out. And we'll flip over here, and I always do a calendar page. For mostly to keep track of my videos. This month I decided to do the next month. I was going to draw it in so you can kind of see October, you know, when's the last day, when's this date. But then I had these beautiful little stickies from Washi Wednesday, so I'm using them. And then I've just drawn a 2x2 grid for my month calendar, which is a little bit different for me. I normally do a larger calendar, but Chris and I are working as a team. We work so closely. It doesn't always work for me to keep all of the YouTube stuff like secret in my bullet journal. So now we're using, you know, a larger office calendar and a blackboard. And yeah, so I'm not using my journal as much for the videos. So I'm making this really cutesy collage page with just like a picture from a magazine and a bit of washi tape. And then I have to get the rose theme in here somehow, so I've got this area in the top corner, and I decided to sketch some hanging, drying roses. They add a nice vertical illustrative element to this collage page, and they're just a lot of fun to draw. And you can see me shading them in here with lots of line shading, because that's what I love, is all those scribbly, messy lines. And yeah, and that's my calendar page for this month. It's really just a way for me to check the dates, and not so much a way for me to keep track of the videos now, because as I said, we're doing that elsewhere in the studio. With all the eraser dust gone, that page I think looks really cute and pretty, and it's something a little different for me as well. So we are doing a different monthly layout for September, partly because I want to keep it fresh, and partly because last month's layout was so much work. It was so pretty, but woo, she was a beaster, that one. So I'm doing something a little simpler. If I have a busy week, I still want to be able to do my journal without stressing. You can see I've divided the bottom part of the layout, the 2-page layout, into 3 areas, 7 squares long on each page. I'll do Monday through Friday and then a weekend area at the end. I've got my little black pen circle up above. I'm going to do a bit of a dotted line, so very, very simple, just to join the days of the week and to create some horizontal separation. And then I'll add in the days in white gel pen. Messed up the weekend. I meant to do 7 and 8, not just 07. But if I make a mistake like that, I just leave it alone. You know, it's only me that's going to see it, and I'd rather have not a scribbled out area or something like that. Sometimes it's worse when you try to fix something. Am I right? Not always, but sometimes. And I think this layout really works once you put in the to-do list. You start to see that vertical area. So I'm just added the boxes. And then I want to do a very simple floral motif up above. And for florals, I always start with a guide in pencil, and that's good because that one I put in the wrong spot. So we're starting with a big circle for a large flower, then 2 smaller, medium-sized circles. You want to have space on the edge for leaves. Then we'll put some lines. Those indicate sprays of flowers, sprays of leaves, and then some smaller circles for small flowers. Let's do this again so you really get it. A large circle in the center, 2 medium-sized flowers, 2 smaller flowers, a couple leaves, and then these lines indicate sprays of tiny flowers or tiny leaves. Then, still working in pencil, you're going to go over the areas and start drawing in the flowers. They don't have to be perfect. You're just deciding, do I want an anemone flower? Do I want a rose here? Some of the flowers, the tiny ones, are just simple 4-petal flowers. And then once you've done your pencil sketch, you're going to have the confidence to start going over that in pen. And you can see how this floral design starts from just a blank page. Then you start with the guide, the simple circles, pencil sketch of each flower, and then we're going over it in pen. So I'm never trying to just draw in pen, sometimes with doodles, but I totally get it if you're not comfortable starting in pen. That makes so much sense to me. So you always want to take the time to set yourself up for success. And you can see here how the little sprays are tiny leaves, tiny flowers, maybe little berries. And what you want to have in a floral design is a contrast of size, a contrast of color. So now I'm adding line shading to some of the plants. And then once I'm done the line shading, I'll start coloring some in because I want some areas to be very light and other areas to be very dark. And that's just all about that contrast that will really bring your floral design to life and make your page pop. I'm going to jump over to the other corner of the page here and do a much smaller floral motif. Starting with the same guide, I draw my flowers and make a few of different sizes, 1 large flower, a couple small flowers, and then of course I've got large leaves and tiny leaves. And this is just a nice way to kind of enclose the top area of your page so that you've got this space where you can put notes and goals or whatever you like, but it's sort of all designed now in a way that sets you up for a pretty spread all week. Let's have a little look at the journal. We've got our rose cover page. Underneath, I've got space for my goals and affirmations, and of course, my little calendar. Then I've got a larger sort of month at a glance calendar on the next page here, and I tried some collage this month, which is a little different for me. And we finished with a new weekly layout that, for me at least, it's a little easier to achieve. Now, if you would like to win everything you need to start journaling, including a Baron Fig Confidant notebook, a bunch of amazing stickers from Washi Wednesday, a set of Jelly Roll white pens, and of course a set of Pigma Microns and some other goodies, simply subscribe, turn on your notifications, and comment below with your favorite layout from 2019. Okay, let's roll on over to my desktop here because I want to thank Skillshare again for sponsoring. And if you want pretty flowers like this on your desktop, that's the kind of stuff I give away on Patreon, so check it out. And speaking of Skillshare, I have been using a lot of courses lately in video editing and just general crafting, but 2 courses I thought that you might be interested in were learning to paint with gouache. This is sort of beyond watercolor, the next step. It's a water-based medium. Gouache is just more opaque, and this class will take you through it. So if you're feeling like you want to try something new, but still something that you're comfortable with, check out this Beyond Watercolor class. And then, I found a really good one that I'll be taking. This is all about growing your own houseplants, and it's taught by botanist Christopher Satch. That's so cool, like botanist. Sorry, I get weird at the end of the videos. But if you are all in for a good trend like me and you suddenly have a bazillion plant babies that you have no idea how to take care of, hello 2019, the year of the plant, then I think this is the course for you, and I'll absolutely be taking it as well. Well guys, thank you for watching today. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your 2-month free trial to Skillshare, and comment below and make sure you enter the giveaway. I will see you soon with a new video.